Bad leadership decisions. 1 Samuel chapter 14. Saul was settling in to being the king of Israel, and his success was known among the people. With several victories under his belt, Saul sat back in the pomegranate cave and didn't feel a need to advance toward more victories. The Bible shows us how Saul slowly lost his focus and dependence on the Lord and began to rest on his laurels. Although Saul began with great spiritual leadership, he started to seek his own reputation and made bad leadership decisions along the way. It's a great thing to start off well, but greatness is for those who finish well. Jonathan, the son of Saul, also wanted to be great. He felt compelled to gain a victory over the Philistines by secretly advancing into enemy territory with just him and his armor-bearer. The Lord revealed that he would be with Jonathan, and the Philistines were struck down, and confusion was spread throughout the camp. Faith and courage were demonstrated in Jonathan, while his father was back at the camp trying to find out who was fighting a battle without his permission. Saul was of the mindset that greatness had to pass through him, and credit couldn't be shared among others. Saul eventually jumped into the fight and helped finish the battle. In an effort to reclaim authority and take credit for winning the battle, Saul made an oath saying that anyone who ate food on that particular day would be cursed. The men of Israel had been pressed hard that day and rightfully should have been allowed to eat and celebrate. But Saul wanted to make it all about him. By telling the armies they could not eat would shift the focus off of Jonathan and get the people's attention back onto Saul, because everyone would be afraid to violate Saul's command. Somehow Jonathan didn't hear about the vow that his father made, and while he was in the forest he ate some honey. The people were very worried that Jonathan had violated Saul's oath, and he would now be cursed. Jonathan and the people were very frustrated that Saul would make such a rash vow and bring trouble to the people on a day when they should have been celebrating a great victory. Power trips usually end this way, with people getting caught in the crossfire of pride and foolish decisions. The people suffer when leaders care too much about themselves. Saul then felt compelled to go out against the Philistines. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him that day. Saul began to blame others for God not speaking to him. He called the leaders together and told the priests to use the Urim and the Thummim to try to find out why God was not speaking. Saul wanted to single out a culprit for God's silence. The Bible isn't clear about why God did not speak to Saul that day, but the Urim and the Thummim did reveal to Saul that he made a foolish vow that put his son at risk of death. The lot fell upon Jonathan, and Saul learned that he invoked a curse upon his own son. With a fresh spurt of integrity, Saul declared that Jonathan must die. The people stood up against Saul and pleaded for Jonathan. The people ransomed Jonathan that day and saved him from a foolish vow that almost cost Jonathan his life. Saul did continue to win many battles while growing his family and kingdom, but there was also a steady decline happening in Saul's character and spiritual leadership. One bad decision after another cost Saul the kingdom, and God would give it to another.